There's a jar in your pantry right now that could contain stainless steel shards or bacteria that's killed 9 Americans. These are the 7 peanut butter brands with histories so disturbing that you need to hear this before you make another sandwich. We're talking about companies that knowingly shipped salmonella-contaminated products while people were dying. Executives who wrote, "Just ship it," when told their peanut butter tested positive for deadly bacteria. And household names with recall after recall. Americans consume roughly 700 million pounds of peanut butter every year. 3 pounds per person. It's in 94% of American households at any given time. We spread it on toast, mix it in smoothies, give it to our children in school lunches, and trust that the brands we've known since childhood are keeping us safe. But that trust has been violated. Repeatedly, systematically, and in some cases, criminally. Because when profit margins matter more than human life, and when companies choose speed over safety, we're not talking about accidents anymore. We're talking about purposeful decisions. Peanut butter should be simple. Peanuts, maybe salt. That's it. For generations, that's all it was. A straightforward protein source, affordable and safe. But somewhere along the way, the industry changed. Production facilities grew massive. Speed became essential. And the connection between the people making the food and the families eating it disappeared entirely. What replaced it was an industrial system built on shortcuts. Contaminated equipment that wasn't properly sanitized. Raw peanuts exposed to moisture, creating perfect breeding grounds for bacteria. And when tests came back positive for salmonella, some companies didn't halt production. They didn't fix the problem. They retested until they got a clean result, then shipped it anyway. The consequences? Over 1,000 Americans sickened. At least 9 dead. Children hospitalized, families destroyed. And in the most notorious case, a CEO sentenced to 28 years in federal prison, the harshest sentence ever imposed for a foodborne illness outbreak. This isn't food safety failure, this is corporate negligence. And it's time to name the brands responsible. 1. Peter Pan. Peanut butter. The brand with the cheerful little boy logo. The one that's been in American cupboards since 1928. The peanut butter responsible for one of the largest salmonella outbreaks in U.S. history. In February 2007, the FDA traced a nationwide salmonella outbreak to Peter Pan peanut butter, manufactured by Conagra Foods at their plant in Sylvester, Georgia. 628 people across 47 states were infected with Salmonella Tennessee. 21% required hospitalization. And this wasn't a quick discovery followed by immediate action. This was months of people getting sick before anyone connected the dots. But here's where it gets worse. Conagra didn't just have a contamination problem in 2007. They'd had contamination issues at that same plant going back to 2004. Routine testing in October 2004 revealed salmonella in finished peanut butter. Company employees identified multiple contributing factors. An old peanut roaster not uniformly heating raw peanuts, a storm-damaged sugar silo, and a leaking roof allowing moisture into the plant. And what did Conagra do? They didn't fully correct these conditions until after the 2006 to 2007 outbreak had already sickened hundreds of people. Federal prosecutors later revealed that Conagra's plant had moisture from a leaky roof and a faulty sprinkler system that went off twice during August 2006. Inadvertent moisture allowed dormant salmonella organisms, likely present in raw peanuts or peanut dust, to grow and contaminate the peanut butter. The recall, when it finally came, included all Peter Pan peanut butter and Walmart's Great Value peanut butter. Products made since December 2005. Nearly a decade later, in 2015, Conagra finally pleaded guilty to a federal misdemeanor charge and paid $11.2 million, including the highest criminal fine ever in a U.S. food safety case at that time. But no amount of money brings back lost lives or undoes months of suffering. Peter Pan peanut butter, made with enriched roasted peanuts, sugar, hydrogenated vegetable oils, salt, and molasses, is still on shelves today. Same brand, new owner, but the history remains. 2. Skippy peanut butter. For over 30 years, Skippy was America's best-selling peanut butter, the brand people trusted most, and that trust made the recalls even more shocking. In 2011, Skippy issued a recall for Skippy Reduced Fat Creamy and Super Chunk peanut butter spreads after Unilever, which owned the brand at the time, found traces of salmonella in testing of the final product. The recall affected 16 states, mostly concentrated in the Northeast but extending as far south as Arkansas. But the worst came in 2022. A massive recall when Skippy revealed that some jars may be contaminated with tiny shards of stainless steel. Yes, you heard that right. Metal fragments in peanut butter. Sharp enough to cause internal injuries if swallowed, the recall forced huge amounts of Skippy peanut butter to disappear from supermarket shelves nationwide. Think about that for a moment. Stainless steel fragments small enough to go unnoticed in a spoonful of peanut butter. Sharp enough to slice soft tissue. Inside jars marketed to families with children. And Skippy's ingredient list? Roasted peanuts, sugar, hydrogenated vegetable oil, and salt. So it makes us wonder, where did the metal fragments come from? Or have they been lying about the ingredient list as well? 3. Jif peanut butter. The brand with the largest market share in America. The one that's been around since 1956. The peanut butter linked to a salmonella outbreak that sickened 21 people and hospitalized 4 across 17 states. It started in May 2022. 5 people fell ill with salmonella. 4 of them specifically recalled eating Jif peanut butter. The FDA traced the outbreak back to a J.M. Smucker facility in Lexington, Kentucky, the plant that makes Jif. And here's what they found. The company claimed it had identified a breach in its machinery that allowed rainwater to seep through the systems and onto roasted peanuts, creating the perfect bacterial breeding ground. But federal investigators later revealed that the plant had a recurrent history of salmonella contamination, dating all the way back to 2017. 5 years of recurring contamination, and they kept producing, kept selling to families across America. The recall, when it finally came, J.M. Smucker closed the plant for weeks, costing the company an estimated $125 million. But the real cost was measured in hospitalizations, illnesses, and shattered trust. Jif peanut butter contains roasted peanuts, sugar, molasses, fully hydrogenated vegetable oils, mono and diglycerides, and salt. And still carrying the stain of a preventable outbreak that made people sick because a company didn't fix problems it had known about for 5 years. And if these stories are making you rethink what's in your pantry, that's exactly the point. Hit that subscribe button for more eye-opening news. Every week, we expose the brands that prioritize profit over safety, the products that aren't what they claim to be, and the food industry secrets they don't want you to know. Drop a like on this video to help spread the word. Now let's keep going, because the worst is still to come. 4. Peanut Corporation of America. You won't find this brand on shelves anymore because PCA is defunct, bankrupt, shut down, and its CEO is serving 28 years in federal prison for knowingly shipping salmonella-contaminated peanut butter that killed 9 people and sickened at least 714 others across 46 states. This is the story that changed everything. Between late 2008 and early 2009, a massive salmonella outbreak swept across America. The CDC traced it to peanut butter, peanut paste, and peanut meal produced by PCA at its Blakely, Georgia processing plant. But this wasn't an accident. This wasn't a mistake. This was criminal negligence. Federal investigators discovered that PCA had been shipping contaminated products for months. When laboratory testing revealed salmonella in peanut products, company executives failed to notify customers. They didn't halt production. They didn't fix the contamination source. Instead, they sometimes just retested that batch, and when it came up clean, they sold it. And then there were the emails, the ones that prosecutors used to secure convictions. In one exchange, when CEO Stuart Parnell was told that a shipment was delayed because results of salmonella tests weren't yet available, he wrote back, "Just ship it." while people were dying. Federal inspectors who investigated the Blakely plant found horrifying conditions. Mouse droppings on the floor, a live bird walking and flying inside the warehouse, mold on containers holding peanuts, standing water after heavy rain. Former employees told reporters the conditions were filthy and nasty and that they would never eat the peanut butter or allow their children to eat it. One employee remembered seeing a family of baby mice in a container of peanuts. The outbreak triggered one of the largest food recalls in U.S. history. Over 3,900 different products from 361 companies. Everything from Keebler crackers to famous Amos cookies, school lunches, prison food, nursing home meals, even emergency meals from FEMA after a massive ice storm. In September 2015, Stuart Parnell was sentenced to 28 years in federal prison. His brother Michael got 20 years. Their quality assurance manager got 5 years. These are the harshest sentences ever imposed in connection with a foodborne illness outbreak in American history. And they should serve as a warning. When companies choose profit over safety, people die. And there are consequences. 5. Sunland Incorporated. Another company that learned the hard way what happens when you ignore contamination. In 2012, Sunland had to recall a wide range of peanut butters and almond butter products because of potential salmonella contamination. Crunchy, creamy, and organic varieties sold under multiple brand names had to be tracked down across the country. And unlike some recalls that are precautionary, this wasn't a just-in-case scenario. Sunland was forced into the recall after 29 people reported becoming sick with salmonella across 18 states over the course of several months. Federal investigators found a direct link between these cases and Sunland products. The recall affected organic peanut butters, natural varieties, store brands. Products marketed as healthier alternatives contaminated just like the conventional brands. Because when sanitation fails, organic certification doesn't protect you. The bacteria doesn't care about marketing claims. Sunland Inc., based in New Mexico, and has primarily supplied peanut butter to other companies for repackaging. That's why the recall expanded to so many different brand names. One contaminated source led to dozens of affected products on shelves nationwide. Let's now look at a brand that got it right. Crazy Richard's 100% Peanuts Natural Peanut Butter. This is as pure as it gets. One ingredient, just peanuts. No salt, no sugar, no oils. Nothing but roasted peanuts ground into butter. It's affordable, usually around $3.50 a jar, and it's made by a company that hasn't had recalls or contamination issues. The oil separates, so you'll need to stir it, but that's how real peanut butter behaves. When you compare Sunland's contamination nightmare to Crazy Richard's clean track record, the choice becomes obvious. This is what peanut butter should be. 6. Smucker's Natural Chunky Peanut Butter. The same J.M. Smucker company that makes Jif had contamination problems with their natural line years before the Jif outbreak. In 2011, routine testing revealed that Smucker's Natural Chunky Peanut Butter contained Salmonella bacteria. J.M. Smucker had no choice but to issue a recall for all 16-ounce jars sold between November 8th and 17th, 2011. As a leading peanut butter brand, the potentially contaminated product had been shipped to 24 states. On the upside, no illnesses were reported, but the salmonella contamination still resulted in 1,619 cases being deemed unsafe for consumption. That's 19,428 jars of peanut butter pulled from shelves and thrown away because the company couldn't guarantee they were safe to eat. This was over a decade before the Jif outbreak at the Lexington, Kentucky facility, which means J.M. Smucker has had recurring contamination issues across multiple plants, multiple product lines, spanning more than a decade. When a company has this pattern, it's not bad luck, it's systemic failure. Compare that to something real like Santa Cruz Organic Dark Roast Peanut Butter. 2 ingredients, organic roasted peanuts and 1% or less salt. That's it. No hydrogenated oils, no extra sugars, no artificial enhancements. Santa Cruz uses certified organic peanuts, which means minimal pesticide exposure. The dark roast gives it a rich, toasty flavor that makes it taste incredible even without added salt. It's palm oil free and the company has a clean safety record. While J.M. Smucker was dealing with salmonella across multiple product lines for over a decade, Santa Cruz has maintained consistent quality and safety. This is peanut butter you can feel good about eating. 7. Inspired Organics. The brand with the optimistic name found itself at the center of a food safety scandal in late 2018 when its nut and seed butters, including peanut butter, tested positive for Listeria monocytogenes, a meningitis-causing bacteria. Listeria is different from salmonella, but no less dangerous. It can cause fever, nausea, stomach pain, and diarrhea, but it's also been linked to more serious, even fatal infections among vulnerable populations. Pregnant women face particular risk, as Listeria can trigger miscarriages and stillbirths. Theoretically, Listeria should be killed by the heat of the roasting process. But the reality is that peanut butter can still be contaminated if production facilities don't take the right precautions that Inspired Organics clearly didn't. While the recall started with sunflower butter, the brand's distributor Lipari Foods LLC ultimately recalled almond, peanut, and tahini butter from 15 states and Ontario, Canada. Products marketed as organic, as clean, as inspired, contaminated with bacteria that can kill. Now here's a brand you should choose instead: Kirkland Organic Peanut Butter from Costco. If you have a Costco membership, this is unbeatable. Kirkland Organic Peanut Butter uses Valencia peanuts, which have a naturally sweet flavor. 2 ingredients: organic dry roasted peanuts and sea salt. It's creamy, it's affordable, and it comes in large jars that last. Costco's Kirkland brand has high quality standards, and this peanut butter delivers. While Inspired Organics proved that organic doesn't guarantee safety, Kirkland has maintained both organic certification and a clean safety record. No recalls, no scandals, just honest peanut butter. So, what does all of this tell us? That major brands, all of them have failed at the most basic requirement: producing food that won't make you sick. Contamination isn't rare. Recalls aren't isolated incidents. This is an industry-wide problem driven by scale, speed, and profit margins that matter more than human health. And here's what they won't tell you. Every time there's a recall, every time there's an outbreak, the real number of victims is far higher than what's reported. The CDC estimates that for every reported case of salmonellosis, another 30 or so cases go unreported. People get sick, think it's a stomach bug, and never make the connection to the peanut butter they ate 3 days ago. Which means the 628 people sickened in the Peter Pan outbreak could actually be over 18,000. The 714 confirmed cases from Peanut Corporation of America could translate to over 22,000 total cases. The real human cost is invisible, uncounted, unacknowledged, and the companies keep producing. So when you're standing in the peanut butter aisle, here's what to look for. Ingredient list with 2 or fewer items. Peanuts and salt. That's it. If you see hydrogenated oils, sugar, molasses, mono, and diglycerides, or anything you can't pronounce, put it back. Oil separation is a good sign. If the peanut butter has oil floating on top that you need to stir in, that means it's real. Natural oils separate, that's normal. Peanut butter that stays perfectly smooth and mixed for months has been engineered to do that with additives you don't need. Check for recalls. Before buying any brand, do a quick search. Brand name peanut butter recall. See what comes up. Companies with repeated contamination issues should lose your business. Consider organic. Organic peanut butter uses peanuts with minimal pesticide exposure. It's not a guarantee of safety from contamination, but it does mean fewer chemicals in the growing process. Support smaller brands with clean records. The massive industrial brands have the most contamination issues because they're operating at scales where shortcuts become standard. Smaller brands often have better quality control. Because here's the truth they don't want you to accept. You have power. Every dollar you spend is a vote. Every jar you buy is a choice. And when enough people stop buying from brands with contamination histories, when enough consumers demand real ingredients instead of engineered substitutes, the industry has to change. The executives at Peanut Corporation of America thought they could get away with shipping salmonella-contaminated peanut butter. They thought profit mattered more than safety. They were wrong. Stuart Parnell is serving 28 years in federal prison. His company is defunct, and his name will forever be associated with one of the deadliest food safety failures in American history. That's what happens when corporate negligence meets legal accountability. But most companies never face consequences that severe. Most recalls result in polite statements, temporary plant closures, and promises to do better. Then it's back to business as usual. Until the next recall. The only way this changes is if we stop accepting it. Stop buying peanut butter with ingredient lists that read like chemistry experiments. Stop trusting brands just because they've been around since childhood. Stop assuming that major corporations care more about your health than their quarterly profits. Your family deserves better than peanut butter made in facilities with mouse droppings on the floor. The American public deserves real food and honesty. What we've been given instead is contamination, recalls, and executives who wrote "just ship it" while people were dying. It's Frankenstein food, it's corporate negligence. And it's time we demanded better. Until then, stay aware, stay sharp, and protect what you eat. And if you found this information valuable, subscribe to Food Closure. We're exposing the truth about food brands every single week. Hit that like button, share this with someone who needs to know, and I'll see you in the next video. See you in the next video. See you in the next video.